Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigerian officers will face trial over a coup that the government denied ever happened. Abuja now admits that over a dozen men will head to military court for allegedly trying to overthrow President Bola Tinubu last year. Also, a year since Rwanda-backed M23 rebels took control of the capital of DRC's North Kivu province, and many still living in Goma are struggling with the daily reality of trying to retain normality in a city under rebel control. And the army does not beat up women because they're not worth our time. The words of the son of Ugandan President Museveni denies accusations of having sent troops in to brutalize the wife of an opposition leader in hiding. Bobi Wine's wife is in hospital and says that she has no doubt who attacked her. But first, a group of Nigerian officers are set to be tried for allegedly plotting to overthrow President Bola Tinubu. When the 16 were arrested last year, the rumours of a coup were officially denied at the time. Nigeria has seen several military power grabs in the past, but has been under democratic rule for almost 30 years. It's currently leading regional efforts to stop military takeovers in West Africa, but now has to turn the spotlight onto its own military. Our Sam Olokoya breaks it all down for us.
Military spokesman General Samaila Uba said after a comprehensive investigation, some arrested officers have been identified with allegations of plotting to overthrow the government. The military says those suspected of involvement in the coup plot will face a court-martial. It is the first confirmation from the Nigerian army that some officers have been arrested for plotting to overthrow the government. Both the military and the Nigerian government denied reports in October last year that some officers have been arrested in connection with a coup plot. Since independence from Britain in 1960, Nigeria's democratic process has been repeatedly halted by military coups until 1999, when the country returned to stable democratic rule. Reports of the coup plot come in the wake of recent military takeovers in some other West African countries like Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Nigeria is leading the regional body ECOWAS in effort to restore democratic rule in the affected countries. Last December, Nigeria deployed its Air Force planes to quell a coup attempt in neighboring Republic of Benin. A military takeover in Nigeria will substantially weaken the country's led regional effort to stop coups in West Africa or to return countries currently under military rule to democratic government.
Sam Olokoya there for us. Now, it's been almost exactly a year since Rwanda-backed M23 rebels took control of Goma, the capital of North Kivu province in eastern DR Congo. Now, its fall marked the beginning of the latest phase of a conflict that has upended stability in the country and deepened regional diplomatic rifts between Kinshasa and neighbouring Rwanda. In Goma itself, though, many residents say that they still feel unsafe living under rebel control. Our team sent us this report.
The roofs are ripped apart and the walls pockmarked with bullet holes. In Goma, the neighbourhood of Kaembe still bears the scars of the fighting. This house is an example.
There are bullets here and bomb fragments, even inside the house.
A year ago, the Congolese army and pro-government militia groups clashed with M23 rebels in the city centre. Trapped amidst the fighting, Augustin Baseme suffered a leg wound. His wife was killed by a shell.
I can't sleep. I've lost my appetite when I think about my wife in those days of fighting. If we'd known it was going to be so bad, we would have fled. We just thought the soldiers were going to fight each other and that it would pass.
It's still impossible to know how many people were killed during the fighting in Goma. These graves are testament to the violence. Civilians killed in the fighting were buried here in haste. With the M23 in control of the city, Goma has become a symbol of Congo's military defeat. For the rebels, there's now an image to uphold. They claim to have liberated the city and its governance must appear exemplary. In practice, that means salongo. That's a traditional term for compulsory labour. Men are obliged to pick up rubbish and repair roads.
The movement asked us to do it, and we responded to this call to do salongo every Saturday to clean up the city.
Goma is getting a facelift. The markets and schools are open, the rebel administration is operational, but the banks remain closed. Off camera, residents say that the city is ruled by fear. Many civil society actors have fled, such as this representative from North Kivu. He says he gets sent lots of videos of civilians being whipped and beaten.
The people live in atrocious suffering. Add to that the terror of rebels that forcibly arrest, who persecute, who forcibly recruit young people to join their rebellion. You can see that these people live surrounded by trauma every day.
The M23 has always denied the allegations. In eastern Congo, humanitarian organizations say that abuses against civilians have reached alarming levels and that all parties to the conflict are committing them.
In posts on X on Monday, Uganda's military chief Muhoozi Kainerugaba denied accusations that soldiers had been sent to the house of opposition leader Bobi Wine to beat up his wife over the weekend. Now, Wine's been in hiding since disputing the outcome of mid-January elections that returned President Yoweri Museveni for a 7th term. Now, Kainerugaba, who is Museveni's son, claims that troops did not raid Wine's home and assault his wife, Barbra. He says because it's not worth the army's time to beat up women. Barbra, though, is currently in hospital. She recorded the intruders on her phone and says that they forced their way into her home, choked her, mocked her, assaulted staff, and demanded she tell them where to find her husband.
So when he hit me, he pulled me down and sat me down. Then he pushed my head and I went down and they sat on me. I could feel 4 bodies seated on me. Then he said, "Will you give me the password?" I said again in Unyankore, "You have already done enough. You are not getting the password." They came to terrorize me, to put me in this situation so that wherever my husband is, he can come out. I want to encourage him to stay wherever he is. I am okay. I can take care of myself.
Kainerugaba often targets and taunts Wine in his posts on X. Even before the election, opposition voices had been complaining of increased repression under President Museveni. More from our regional correspondent, Juliet Monti.
In Uganda, members and supporters of the main opposition party have been facing growing pressure since the presidential election. Around 800 arrests have been recorded nationwide. At least 18 people have been killed by security forces in Butambala, Njeru, Masaka, Luero and Mityana, and 4 abductions have been reported in the past few days. These figures come from the National Unity Platform, which warns the real toll could be higher. The ruling party, the NRM, has so far not responded to France 24's request for comment. We met the leader of the opposition at Parliament. He accuses the authorities of deliberately spreading fear to silence any dissent.
People are afraid. Even myself, I don't know when there will be an instruction to come and arrest me, even though, yes, I'm an elected leader of the opposition and all of that. This regime operates in a rogue manner. They'll stop at nothing. So, yes, it is a worrisome situation, but we have chosen that we shall not sit back because that's what they want us to do.
One of the most visible faces of the opposition under pressure is Bobi Wine. The party leader and main challenger to Yoweri Museveni in this election fled after security forces surrounded his home the day after the vote. On the streets, his campaign posters now look like wanted notices.
The chief of defense forces, the head of the military, who is a son to Museveni, one Muhoozi Kainerugaba, has been tweeting saying he's hunting down Bobi Wine to kill him. He has said that on Twitter.
Human rights violations had already been documented by civil society in the weeks leading up to the election. The final result, giving Yoweri Museveni victory with 71% of the vote, has been challenged by the opposition and criticized by election observers and human rights organizations alike.
Well, the war appears to have reignited in South Sudan. A peace deal signed in 2018 had brought relative stability, but that's now unraveling. Fighting has broken out in Jonglei, which is north of the capital, and the army's deployed troops to block rebel forces from advancing further towards Juba. Details from our regional correspondent, Bastien Renouy.
When we arrive there, don't spare an elderly, don't spare a chicken, don't spare a house or anything. These are the words of General Johnson Oloni during the deployment of his troop in Jonglei State, according to our colleagues from Radio Tamazuj. His troops are being deployed to stop the advance of rebel groups loyal to Riek Machar. The former vice president and leader of the opposition is currently being held in Juba, the capital. He's accused of being behind attacks on the South Sudanese military in 2025.
The trial, which the opposition are seeing as a legal assault on their leader, it's sort of like the symbolic rallying point for them. But also there are other factors, including government has been actually fighting with the opposition in Upper Nile, bombarding them from the air, and some of the areas were actually bombed before the forces marched out to take garrison towns in northern Jonglei.
Large-scale fighting is imminent. On Sunday, the South Sudanese army gave 48 hours to civilians to escape from 3 different counties, and it even ordered NGOs to withdraw. I can tell you that in South Sudan, many people are bracing for the worst.
The impact is going to be massive. This is not exactly a replication of the 2013 civil war. The war we are seeing now, it's pretty decentralized. The leader of the opposition is just symbolic leader. As we speak, is incommunicado. He's been under house arrest. He is undergoing trial in Juba. So he cannot even communicate with the commanders. And yet these commanders at the grassroots are the one mobilizing, and they are coordinating.
Since the beginning of the year, 180,000 people have been displaced because of the conflict. More than a decade after its independence, South Sudan is still struggling to achieve peace. Between 2013 and 2018, almost 400,000 people died during the civil war.
Well, after the chaotic Africa Cup of Nations final between Morocco and Senegal last week, frayed relations between the nation's fans, the country's leaders met in Rabat on Monday to show that there were no hard feelings, at least at the diplomatic level. Clem Valla with more.
It's the first meeting between the Senegalese and Moroccan authorities since the AFCON final. On Monday, Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko visited Rabat to strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. While the main objective of this meeting was to sign 17 cooperation agreements in the fields of agriculture, higher education, or even the digital economy, it was impossible to not mention the tournament's chaotic match between the Teranga Lions and the Atlas Lions.
This visit comes at an emotionally charged time due to sports, regrettable excesses, and images that are sometimes painful for two deeply connected peoples. It is meant to assert, to reaffirm that sport did not divide us.
Several incidents marred the AFCON final on January 18th. Just after a goal was disallowed for Senegal, a penalty was awarded to the host country at the end of regulation time after consultation with the video referee. This decision led to some of the Senegalese players to leave the pitch before Sadio Mane asked them to return. Moroccan ball boys were also filmed attempting to steal goalkeeper Edouard Mendy's towels, prompting outrage from his replacement. Tensions spread to the stands, where supporters of the Teranga Lions attempted to invade the pitch for nearly 15 minutes. The final may have shaken African football, but not diplomatic ties between the two countries. The Moroccan Prime Minister also affirmed that relations between Morocco and Senegal were solid. An economic forum between the two countries is also planned during the visit.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now, but thanks very much for having joined us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.